Welcome to Screams and Streams, the podcast that looks at the best and worst horror movies as rated on Rotten Tomatoes from 1970 onwards. I'm your host, Chad Campbell, and with me is my co-host,
Mike Carron.
And before we get to today's film, we'd like to invite you to check us out on Instagram. Our handle is @ScreamStreamPod. Also, be sure to check out our website at screamsandstreams.com for more information about all the films that we are looking at. Just a warning in the podcast, we do jump around in the plot, and we may end up spoiling the film if you haven't had a chance to see it yet. If you don't like spoilers, we recommend that you stop listening now, check out the film, and then rejoin us for our discussion. Today, we are looking at Stuart Rodenberg's 1979 film, The Amityville Horror. It scored 31% on Rotten Tomatoes. It also spawned over 30 Amityville film spin-offs. Not all were canon, but a ton of movies came out of this one. So let's get into it. Mike's going to give us our summary. Go ahead, Mike.
Newlyweds and their 3 children move into a large house where a mass murder was committed. They start to experience strange, inexplicable manifestations which have strong effects on everyone living in or visiting the house.
Right. So our first impressions, we're going to go with Mike. You're going to kick this off. Go ahead. Give us your first impressions of the Amityville Horror.
So this is my true first impressions of this incarnation of the story. I had seen the 2005 Ryan Reynolds version.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think in the theater in Taiwan. And it's not great, but I did enjoy it. I found Ryan Reynolds acting as the father really good, especially when you see him as more of a comedic role. And then in that one, he's this sort of dark force. So watching this one, I sort of held it up against my memory of the remake, and I quite enjoyed it. I found James Brolin just captivating.
Right.
The film it's a standard story. We know it. We've seen it sort of repeated in others where a malevolent force taints someone within the house and where it goes from there. But I was entertained. I was engrossed the whole way through. I thought they did a good job with it. There's things they could have done better. There's terror that could have been brought out more. But overall, yeah, I quite enjoyed the film.
Oh, great. Okay, so I'm going to give you my first impression. This is my second watching of Amityville. I never saw the 2005 remake because when I was a kid, I didn't like this film.
Okay.
I watched it and fell asleep in it at one part. I thought it was boring and dull. However, when I rewatched it this time as an adult, I actually really enjoyed it.
Okay. I thought you were going to go along with your childhood.
No, I thought it was a lot of fun. I really liked a lot of the effects in it. I thought the story was good. And like you said, yes, we've seen this story before, but in 1979, we hadn't seen it as much.
Right, yeah.
Right? So I thought it did a really good job. I mean, there's some actors that take liberties, like they really chew up some scenes.
Yeah.
There's some yelling again in this. I don't know if you guys have heard our previous one where we talk about the swarm, where everybody yells at each other. But in this one, there's some yelling that happens. But I think it works with the characters and the time and what they're trying to get across. Like in some instances, I think sometimes it's a little much, but sometimes it's warranted. But anyways, I enjoyed it this time around. I thought it was a fun ride. And I think Rotten Tomatoes got it wrong with 31%.
Yeah, the critics
That's
of the time.
mean.
Yeah.
I thought they did a way better job than 31%.
I agree.
All right, so now we're going to move on to our next category, which is Tropes Hall of Shame. I'm going to start with this one. And the first one kicks off dark and stormy night. Everything happens in a dark and stormy night.
Yeah.
It kicks off with opening scene, watching these murders that are happening. The guy wakes up and he shoots his family.
Yeah, the DeFeo murders.
Yes, and it's creepy, but yeah, raining full on, lots of lightning.
Yeah. Never
heard so much thunder and lightning in succession. It's just like a Lars Ulrich drum solo. It's pretty crazy.
Just riding the crash cymbal.
That's right. So that was my first one. And then I had a second one, which was, buying a house that horrible things have happened in. And, it's a great deal. I still can't really afford it, even though, the waffling back. I love the house, but all this stuff. So there was that. I did have a question as to why it was a year later and they're running through the house. They're touring the house And there's still all the bed frames in it and stuff. Wouldn't the house be totally empty?
Well, you'd think, seeing as it's a crime scene, that there would have been more processing or something done. But the fact that it's just like, well, a big murder here happened. The family's all dead.
And they all know about it.
Yeah. And we'll just leave the house to go fallow.
Yeah. There's obviously signs of work had been done on the house, but they didn't really, delve into that at all. And they got into this one room and there was still the bed frame in there. And I was just confused. There was a mattress in one of them. It's like, there's no way they get that mattress.
Well, I got to say, cleaning up my mom's house to help her with her move.
Yeah.
If I could just walk away and leave everything in there, I would. Yeah. It's a pain. And it's not my house. It's not stuff that we're using. We took out all the stuff my mom still wants.
Right.
So maybe that was just a matter of like, well, this isn't going anywhere and we don't want to handle it. So just leave it.
We don't want to pay to get anyone to take it out or anything. Yeah. Anyways, those are my first two.
All right. You took my dark and stormy night.
Okay. Sorry about
That's
that.
Okay.
I think we're going to double up on a few things in here. Yeah.
My first trope was the coitus interruptus. Right?
Oh, with the kid?
Yeah. Margot Kidder and James Brolin.
Is rubbing his eyes. It's just,
So every movie that has young kids and a newlywed couple, you have to have the kids interrupt the intimacy.
Yeah, that's right.
And the other one is the rocking chair moving with no one in it.
Ah, yes. Okay. Yeah. That's a good one. I missed that one. Yeah.
So it is good. Like, there is the imaginary friend Jody. And so they have to keep establishing that Jody's in the room.
Right.
But they go back to that rocking chair a lot. And there's a scene later where the daughter's in the room and the chair's rocking and they're talking.
Yeah.
And Margot Kidder walks in and then it stops immediately. And it's just,
right.
Yeah. By now we've seen that so many times.
Yeah. That actually segues into my next trope quite well. The child having an imaginary friend that they can see, but nobody else can.
Right.
And it's actually the ghost or the demon that's haunting the house. And, oh, Jody likes this. Jody doesn't like George, and like all that stuff. Yeah.
So on the imaginary friend and Jody, I know there's that one drawing, in the Amityville Horror book, there's a drawing and there's like, is it a cat or a pig in the drawing?
Oh.
But at the very end of the movie, when suddenly there's like the Pink Floyd-esque pig in the window with the glowing eyes, was there any indication up to that point that Jody was a giant pig?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought I missed something.
So there was a scene where the cat jumped onto the windowsill and scared him and hissed, right?
Right.
And had the glowing eyes. There was the scene where Margot Kidder saw Jody leave the room through the window. She went over to close the window and saw the glowing. The only thing we get is glowing eyes.
Right.
We never see a giant pig or anything like that until the reflection in the window there.
When he looks up from the street.
Yeah, not the reflection, but he looks in there and sees this image and then he's, and runs up there with the axe.
Yeah. And I was still even confused. Like, it's not my back it up scene, but I had to rewind. Like, what the hell is that? I'm like, it's a giant pig. That makes no sense.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I thought the same thing. I thought that was kind of ridiculous that they put that in there because it really took away from the tension in the scene. I thought it really kind of made it silly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I don't know why they did that. So I'm going to give you my next couple. Detectives in suits and trench coats, I thought was one out of the gate. So after he murders his whole family, the police and everybody are out there, and the detective from Top Gun is in there, the bald guy. He's in there. He always looks so angry in everything he does. In every bit part I've seen him in, he's always just looking mean.
Always mean. He's the principal from Back to the Future as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He's been in a few things. So, anyways, he's there, and there's the one other detective smoking the cigar with the hat.
Yeah.
And it just looks like every other detective, like a Dick Tracy movie, kind of.
Right.
So that was my next one, and then I had the jump scare with the cat.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Jumping onto the window, so and he, whoa, what the heck? And then he mentions that later. Well, there was a cat. It wasn't a cat. So that one I thought. Just the jump scare with that. Yeah. And there was no indication that there was a cat around the house. I don't know where the cat came
from either. I didn't get that.
Like, it would have been better if they had the dog bark at the window or something. I don't know why he would have, but the cat didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, they've never established that the family has a cat, so this is just some random
Black
wild
cat.
Yeah.
And again, I could also couple onto that it's a black cat, a dark cat.
Yeah.
Like it's not a orange tabby.
That would have been my trope, because it seems every time there's a cat in a movie, it's a tabby. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, in Pet Sematary, it's a gray one, right? It's a dark gray one. And then mostly, I guess black cats have that, history of being unlucky and demonic, but
yeah. My next one, and I didn't know whether to put this into, at first I wrote it down as a line, and then I was like, no, this is a trope. And it's when later on the stress of the finances have been starting to get to James Brolin's character, and the demonic possession the demonic influence is starting to affect him. And he and Margot Kidder try to be intimate. And of course he can't. And she's like, this happens all the time.
Oh yeah, that's always.
Not to me, it doesn't.
In every film, every sitcom ever. Yeah.
Not to me,
Not
it doesn't.
to me, it doesn't.
And my last one is just the evil existing on tainted ground.
Oh yes. Yeah. There was a
indigenous burial ground.
Right. Yeah. Evil things have happened. I have one more if I could.
Yeah.
The unfinished scary basement.
Yeah. I thought about putting the basement into this one too.
I don't think you go to many houses anymore that they are unfinished. Maybe in the 70s, I think they used them mostly as a cellar, like as a storage cellar, but it was never a place where, I don't know. But it just seems that is used in almost every horror movie is, well, go down in the basement and check it out. Oh, don't go in the basement.
Well, even the idea of there being a wall that doesn't match the floor plan of the house above.
Right.
Like every house that I've looked at when I was buying mine, it's not like I was watching the floor plan, but it's not like there was like a weird room. It's like, oh, this doesn't match the squareness of the rest of the house.
Right. And the real estate agent never takes them down to the basement.
Right.
So when he comes in and says, oh, there's a draft, it says it's 70, but it feels like it's 32 degrees in here.
Yeah.
She says, oh, there's a draft coming from the basement. First of all, a draft wouldn't be that dramatically cold.
Right. Nor would it come from a basement.
Yes. So he goes and checks, I'll go check it out. And then the kid who falls in every scene comes down there and.
Yeah.
Which by the end I thought was funny. I'm sorry. He fell down the stairs in the basement. He fell down the stairs while they're trying to escape the house. He fell outside. I was just, wow, they're really hitting this kid hard here. So that wraps that up. We're going to go into our one-liners. Mike, you're going to kick us off with our one-liners.
The line that I've got that I'm going to start off with is, I wrote down, not because it's a great line, but it was probably the first moment that we see James Brolin's anger and harshness. And he's just like, these kids of yours need some goddamn discipline.
Right.
And it just like, I knew from watching the remake that there was this animosity built up and this sort of like lack of care for the kids. But
right.
That line, like Brolin delivered it so well.
Yeah.
So cold.
No, I agree. That's a great line. I didn't copy it down, but yeah, that is a good one. Mine is where he's well into his kind of downfall or his possession almost, and Margot Kidder's character comes up and is, we need to do something. We have to get out of here. And he says, you're the one that wanted the house. This is it. So just shut up. He's like, we're not doing anything about this. We're staying here and that's it.
Yeah.
And he knows something's wrong.
Right.
I mean, he's been feeling ill or off for pretty much since they moved in, right? Like it attacks him within a day.
Yeah.
But it's that rage, right? That we see build throughout the story, and he just snaps.
Yeah.
This is it. So shut up. We're staying in this house.
Yeah. Like you said, he knows something's wrong. There's the scene where he goes to the city to pick up the plans, and then he's at the bar.
Yes.
Or that might be different, but he's at the bar talking to his business partner, right?
At the Witch's Brew.
The Witch's Brew.
Which I really like the name of that bar.
But clearly he's bothered by it, right?
Oh, for sure he is. And there are times throughout the story or throughout the film where he says, I don't know what's going on with me. he's always cold. He's always tending to this fire.
Yeah.
And so there's this build, and he knows he knows something's off.
Which I kind of liked. Like other demonic possession or demonic influence films, the character that's being affected the most almost becomes a part of the plan and a part of it, and it goes along. Whereas Brolin fights it or seems to be conflicted by it through the whole film. It's not like he's possessed and then evil. He's worn down and snappy and irritable. And yeah, I did like that part of it.
I think it just really exhausts him. And as we all know, when we get very tired and you're able to snap at anything. Mm-hmm. With your kid quote where he says they need some goddamn discipline, the kids are running around and I don't want to go to bed, and they're whining and they lock the
babysitter
in the closet for hours.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think a lot of parents would probably snap at that.
Yeah. But
I agree. He delivers that line so good, but he's just worn out.
Yeah.
And we really see that at the reception in the wedding too, where he's trying to cool himself off in the bathroom. And actually, just to double up on it, I love that line. And I never wrote this down, but it is another one-liner of mine when he talks to the caterer. And he just says, look, I'm going to write you a check. Or he says, I don't like being hustled, and I don't like being bothered in the bathroom or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm going to write you a check, and if you don't take it, you can eat your own goddamn food.
That scene was fantastic.
Very well done. And he delivers that line so well, and you just see that he despises his caterer at this time.
Yeah.
He's frustrated about the money. He knows he has to cover it, and he's already in financial distress. $1,500 in 1979 was
a fair chunk of change.
Fair amount of money, yeah.
That's an expensive caterer.
For sure. What did he serve?
I don't know.
So that ends our one-liners. So now we're going to go into what doesn't hold up. Mike, you're going to kick us off with what doesn't hold up.
My first one is something that started off, I thought it was a cool effect and an interesting idea, but then it just became tiring and disruptive. And that's when Margot Kidder and James Brolin are being toured through the house and being shown room by room, being shown the house room by room. Every time the real estate agent opens a door, it cuts back to DeFeo shooting the shotgun at the person in the bed.
Yes, that quick clip, right? That quick cut. Yeah.
Yeah. And the first time I was like, oh yeah, that was a good little reminder. But it's not like we're so far from the beginning of the film that we forgot these murders happened.
Yeah. It's literally the next scene.
It
says a year later, and it's right there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like in CSI where they pick the bullet up off the ground, and then 5 minutes later they're in the lab analyzing, and they cut back to when they picked the bullet up off the ground in case you wonder where the bullet came from. So yeah, I just put like cool at first, annoying by the third door.
Yes.
Yeah.
My what doesn't hold up, I guess, is this speaks to some of the acting that I alluded to in the beginning when I talked about my first impressions. It's the nun's puke scene.
Oh, yes.
So Margot Kidder's character is quite religious, and she has a nun pop by to visit. Is it an auntie or something? Why is she there?
Aunt or a cousin?
Yeah.
Or sister.
Related in some way.
It's her sister. It's the kid's aunt.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's the kid's aunt. Comes down to give her a housewarming gift and just to kind of hang out in the house. She comes in, is visibly upset by the house and the energy in the house. Says she has to go. Doesn't feel well. One of the things that bothered me in that whole scene just kind of bothered me because Margot Kidder's character is saying, you have to stay, you have to stay, you have to stay. She's saying, I have to go, I don't feel well.
Yeah.
She turns to James Brolin and you have to make her stay. And then I was like, how do you make someone stay, especially when they're saying they're sick?
Right.
She gets out of the house and is, noticeably not well. She's kind of stumbling towards her car, gets to the car and drives away. And then she gets away from the house and does this poorly done puking scene behind the door of the car.
Right.
And it's just, I didn't buy it.
I'm surprised he didn't throw the priest puking as well, because his puke scene was just as sort of flawed off camera.
Well, I thought, I guess hers, I didn't buy more because they seemed to focus on it more. Like it seemed longer. It just was like,
Right.
and she making this really crazy puking sound, which made me wonder if she had ever been sick before. Because I don't know. I didn't buy it. So that was one of my doesn't hold up. Your next one, Mike?
I know I put it in the opening sound. And again, this is something that due to the age and sort of more modern parodies doesn't hold up anymore. But it's when the priest is blessing the room and there's all the flies and the door opens and get out.
Oh, yeah.
All I could do was flash back to that Simpsons Treehouse of Horror. With
yeah.
The walls will drip with blood and you'll be scared.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Make the walls bleed again. Which I guess was their sort of spoof of the Amityville Horror, the possessed house.
Right.
But it just, I immediately flashed just to that. And so it took me out of that scene. Up to that moment, I loved the flies. I loved the way he reacts to like the stench in the room. I thought it was very well done. And then it's cut with the sort of joy of the family on the water, ignorant to what's taking place in their house.
Within the house, yeah.
So it's good and it's creepy, but I think just suffers from age and parody.
Right. My next one is more of a comical one. James Brolin's Tidy Whities. I don't think they age very well. He was walking around the house looking for the sound that's coming from there. He walks into that room,
right?
Sees some flies and stuff like that, but he's in his underwear for that whole scene.
Yeah.
And he's just walking around. I guess, you probably would just walk around like you're comfortable. You're walking around in your underwear. Not everybody wears pajamas, but yeah, I don't know. It just seemed dated.
What, you wanted to have like a silk smoking jacket?
I wanted boxers or a silk smoking jacket. Yeah. With a pipe.
Just Hugh Hefner checking out his room.
That's right. Some robe and slippies. So now we're going to go to our most gratuitous scene. I'm going to kick this one off. My most gratuitous scene was the axe scene where he kills his daughter and cracks open Margot Kidder's head.
Right, yeah.
When he is standing over the child and she's, oh my God, no. And then he just swings that axe and her head explodes. Not that it was done poorly and it took me out of the scene. I just thought it was super violent and very grotesque. So I actually liked it, but it was one of those moments.
Yeah, it definitely was unsettling and very well done. Like it is believable and you think it's happening and it's like, holy shit.
Yes.
And like the daughter was upsetting because again, it's the killing of the child. But when he splits the axe into Margot Kidder's head, and you sort of get that spray.
Yes.
Like it was just, oh, Jesus Christ. Like,
I know, it just goes everywhere, that blood. Yeah.
And especially because there's been no gore up to that scene.
Not really. The only blood that we do see is from the shooting at the very, very beginning, but it's kind of splattered around. It's not really thick and...
Yeah, and it's not squibs going off and like blood. Yeah, body parts. So.
And they quick cut it away, so you can't really focus on whether or not it was a dummy head or how it was done, right? There are lots of films that you see, lots of horror films that you see where they linger too long on the effect. This one did it perfectly where it hits the head explodes, and boom, he wakes up.
Yeah.
Yeah, or she wakes up.
I didn't have a gratuitous scene, but I'll piggyback on yours. That was the one, because watching this film, there was nothing that was over the top or done to the point of exhaustion for me, other than the opening of the doors at the beginning. But I talked about that more as doesn't hold up.
Yeah.
This film is even. It's level. There's no too much of something.
Right. Okay. So we're going to go into stood the test of time. Mike, you're going to kick us off.
I know you've already talked about this one and it is a trope. And you mentioned both of these, but I actually did like the jump scares that they use. There is the black cat and the hiss. Yes, it's a trope. Yes, it's an animal hissing to scare us, but it got me. I was sitting there watching. Oh, Jesus.
I will say cats hissing is creepy as shit.
Yeah.
I mean, my brother-in-law had a cat who didn't like new people. and he would hiss at me all the time, and it freaked me out. It's scary.
It is, yeah. Especially because for the most part, a domesticated cat is usually affectionate or just ignores you.
Right.
So when they hiss, it's like, oh no.
Yeah, it's angry.
Yeah, what's coming?
Yeah.
And then the other jump scare that got me is when the boy is walking down the stairs and he slips and falls and the light bulb pops.
Yes, yeah.
Again, it's a trope. It's been done. You almost know when he's going down to the basement, something's going to happen. But I think I was just so engrossed in the film that, again, I just got caught by it.
Well, I didn't expect him to pack out quite that hard. Like he fell and he snapped the light bulb and then he rolled all the way down. And that was, I agree. That one, it was kind of freaky.
Yeah.
Yeah. For my stood the test of time, I have The Blood.
Okay.
I thought The Blood, I've been very critical of horror movies and their blood. Mm-hmm. I thought The Blood looked really good in this film.
Yeah, when he falls into the blood in the basement and then comes out soaked in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could almost be gratuitous, but I didn't want to say gratuitous because it wasn't like over the top. It was just a pool of blood.
No, it was just a pool of blood, and he was basically bathing in it.
Although it could go to doesn't hold up, because by the time he gets the dog and out of the house and into the van, he's clean. Like, he doesn't have a speck of blood on him.
Well, he took that shirt off, Mike.
Oh, okay, sorry. But therefore, his jeans, face, and arms.
Shirts. I know he was soaked in it, and it was a very quick cleanup. We see that in a lot of films where the next scene, they're like just trying to get you out of there.
Yeah, the continuity error just...
could take you out of the film, yeah. I like The Blood. And Mike, did you have another one?
I did, yeah. And it actually does have to do with blood, but not to the same, like the quality of it. But there is the scene where the daughter tricks the babysitter into the closet and then locks her in, or locked in by the demon. Not quite sure.
I think it's the demon, but I don't know exactly. But yeah, go ahead.
But it's the bloody knuckles.
Oh, when she's beating on the door. Yeah.
Like, she's been in there banging on the door, and like, they cut to who knows how many hours later when Margot Kidder and James Brolin come back from the wedding, and she's slowly just like, let me out.
She's just exhausted.
And there's just little blood dots on the door and blood on her knuckles because she's been pounding on that door that long. It was good. It's a good upsetting scene because it puts you into her frame and just like, how would that be for that poor girl in that room?
That babysitter, you know, I'm going to add a stood the test of time. That babysitter really did a great job with that scene.
Yeah.
When she got locked in and she's let me out. And then when the light goes off, that blood curdling scream she gives when that light goes out is amazing.
So good.
Yeah, no, I love that. I had another one though, and it was the makeup for George when he's getting sicker and sicker and more when the possession or whatever it is moving forward. There's one scene near the end where he's sleeping in the chair and he wakes up and his eyes are just, he looks like a zombie.
Yeah, he's so gaunt too.
Oh, they did such a good job with that.
Yeah.
He just looks creepy. And James Brolin's a big guy. Like he towers over everybody in that film. And to have him like go off and be that spooky when he's cutting that wood and wandering around with that axe, it's just like, whew, man, this guy's got something going on. But they do a really, really good job making him look more and more ill
and slight. Like his frame gets slighter somehow.
Yes, yeah. No, and I think he just does a really good job at snapping. Mm-hmm. I mean, showing how irritable this whole process is making him.
Yeah.
So,
and it's interesting. There's something that I'll bring up in research later, but the last thing that I saw James Brolin in was as the grandfather or the patriarch in the TV show Life in Pieces.
Yes, that's me too. I was like, when I wrote down who acted in this, I said James Brolin, the guy from Life in Pieces, the dad, who he's hilarious in that. And that
caring
series.
And nice. Yeah. And like, who doesn't want him as a grandfather?
I know, right?
Then you see him in this, it's just like, Jesus. So it's a good contrast.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. My last test of time, and it's a small thing, but I really liked at the beginning when we see the house, and I mean, they cut to the side of the house a bit and the facade of it, but the way that between the chimney and the sort of quarter circle windows, it looks like a skull.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I liked that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fabricated.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just like sets up there's evil. It's an evil house.
Yeah. No, my actually, when I started the film, my daughter came downstairs and she looked at it. It was showing the house from that angle, because there's two angles they show the house from.
Right.
The one with the windows and the eyes that look like eyes.
Yeah.
And then the other angle with the door.
Right.
And she came down and she saw that and just said, "Whoa, that's creepy."
Yeah, it is.
It's the first thing she said. And I said, "Yeah, doesn't it look like," she said, "a face?" Mm-hmm. I said, "Yes, it looks like a face. It looks pretty gross." Yeah.
And I love the fact that like this isn't the original Amityville house, but the house where the movie was filmed had those windows, and the owners had to like put in square windows and change that side of the house because they were tired of people coming to see it and take pictures of it.
Yeah, I guess if you were a person that bought that house after this film, you'd be just, oh my gosh, go away.
Yeah.
Next, we're going to go to our audio category where we go eerie to ear splitting. I'm going to kick this one off. There's a scene where James Brolin is wandering the house and he hears these kids laughing and goes to check out the room. And that's the room where the priests and the flies and everything were. And I thought, I mean, it's one of those, it could be a trope because kids laughing is in a lot of horror films and but it's always creepy.
Yeah.
And the way they use it in this film, it just really is unsettling. And when he goes to investigate, you're just, yeah, this doesn't sound right. Yeah. I don't know what's going on. So that was my first eerie one was the kids laughing.
And what I like with that is the lack of payoff. And I know that sounds weird, but you hear the laughter and he's searching and he opens the door.
Yeah.
And I think we've been conditioned as horror viewers to expect something there that will jump out.
Should be a jump scare at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. Something that will like, what is causing this laughter? But there's nothing.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just like, ugh.
It works the opposite. Like it's almost more effective that way because you don't see that happen. Did you have a comment for eerie to ear splitting, Mike?
My first one is at the very beginning of the film, after like we see the DeFeo murders and the trench coat detectives, but he closes the hearse door and the camera's inside the hearse.
Oh, with the body bags and stuff. Yeah.
And then all sound just drops out.
Right.
Like I thought this film did a really good job with silence as well, or lack of score even, but it just, all the noise, all the storm, the thunder, the rain, everything just, and it's absolute silence. And it just lets you sit in the sort of void of what's happened in this house and the creepiness of that opening. I thought it was very well done.
Mm-hmm. And just to add to that, I think I really loved how they used audio in this film for, I'd say pretty much the whole film. Except for the lightning and during the storm. It was just so much, so quick. Mm-hmm. But other than that, every time they fade out, every time they add the theme song, every time they add the kids stuff, it just really works in this film.
Yeah.
My next one was actually a kid thing again, where the daughter is singing the Bible, because Jesus loves me so, to the rocking chair that's rocking with nothing in it.
Yeah.
But she's singing that song. Kids singing Bible tunes just freak me out.
Yeah. Jesus loves me, this I know.
Yeah.
Because
the Bible tells me so. So that one I thought was really good. And then when Margot Kidder comes in there and who are you singing to? That's the scene where she sees the eyes and kind of realizes that something's really up here.
Yeah, it's not just imagination or flawed perception. Yeah.
Yeah. So that one I liked as well. And your next one?
My last one, actually, I thought you were going this way when you said the kids and singing. I was like, oh no, he's gonna like something that I didn't. But it's, again, something from the beginning sound that I played in the opening of our episode. It's the tra-la-la-la-la.
Oh, yeah.
It became a bit much.
They do use that one a lot. Yeah.
The innocence of children or whatever. It just didn't fit. Like, I don't know. Like, we have this family, we have these children that are potential victims of this demonic threat, but it just felt off or out of place, I should say.
Right. Okay, so we're going to move on to our back it up moments. So in this one, I had one that I really liked, and I think it is that scene where the kid and he cracks the axe over Margot Kidder's head. I thought that was just so well done. Like, if you wanted to see it, I mean, I did back it up because it's creepy and disturbing, but it is a well done scene.
I had a hard time finding a back it up in this movie just because there were so many things I liked about it and so many scenes that I enjoyed that I was like, nothing stood out as, oh, that's a great back it up. Because honestly, the film moves at a pace and it works so well. Nothing really stood out to me. So I went for a comical back it up, and I was going to bring it up in tropes, but I was like, I don't have a distinct back it up moment. I liked it all. There is the whole finding information in books. So he goes to the library or bookstore. Yeah. And he's looking at a shelf about dreams and their importance or their effect.
Right.
And there's, again, it's one of those sort of, why is that book on the shelf? But it's also prominent and noticeable. And it's the title, You Can Raise Your Handicapped Child. So there's books about dreams, psychics, demons, that one, and then more books about dreams, psychics, and demons.
Yeah.
And so that was my back it up, just because I had to back it up to see what the titles were. Similar to what I did with Scream, Blackula Scream, and other movies where they go perusing a bookstore.
My other comment about that, and I had no other place to bring it up, so I'm so happy you brought up the bookstore, is because, is it a bookstore or is it a library?
I think it was maybe a library.
So why does he have to steal the book? I didn't get it.
Maybe he's worried that if somehow someone were checking like who's looking at what books, they'd be like, oh, George took out this book and he must be impacted or guilty in something.
I think you're giving the librarians too much credit there. Like, these two old ladies were sitting there talking and he just comes in. That book has like these little locks on the side of it, by the way, which maybe it was a book from the forbidden section of Hogwarts. I don't know what's going on.
Or it's like a reference book that you're not allowed to take out.
See, now that would make sense, but we would need some kind of draw where he looked at the tab and it said for reference only or something. So that, but he just shoves it in his pants and then he walks away. And the way he steals it is dumb too. He shoves it in his pants and doesn't put his shirt over it. He just like folds his jacket and then he just like walks out quickly.
The most obvious shoplifter in the world.
Man. Yeah. I didn't get it. I didn't get why he did it.
Maybe it's a store, but it's a store with one copy of every book.
Yeah. I had a couple of things that I wanted to mention that we didn't get to, though, before we get into our bonus features. And maybe we could just talk about this. I had this listed as tropes, but I didn't say it. It was the priests not believing, the other priests not believing the priest that had been in there and saying, we need to help this family. And they're, there's tons of things. It's not Satan. It's not Satan. Yeah. And the one priest was the mayor from Jaws.
Yes.
And that guy just plays those types of characters so well.
Yeah.
His whole look, the way he looks at him during the priest's speech, it's just so condescending. He's such a dick.
Yeah. Well, and he plays into something I didn't mention, which doesn't hold up, which is the priests yelling each other when they get into their argument. Yeah.
Sit down. I said sit down. And then that other guy just kind of sits back and watches.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's the scene I thought was kind of funny.
I had something.
Yeah, please.
I had something that, I didn't know what category to throw it into because I needed an answer to it. But like, what was with Margot Kidder's face in the attic when Brolin comes in with the axe and she's on the ground, but it's all saggy and wrinkly, like a wet, like snake shedding its skin kind of thing.
So she grabbed the cross.
Right.
And that was supposed to, and you saw those like kind of bumps and things happen on her hand, and I think that was supposed to transfer to her skin. So
she did have a couple blisters on her face, but it just became this. Her entire face was like a saggy blister.
Yeah, I know it went a little much. It wasn't. I don't know. And I did like how she looked in a mirror that was the most how do I say this? Unclear mirror that you could possibly look into. It had that design and old 70s gold streaks through it. And so when she's sitting there looking, it took me a while to focus. I couldn't figure out what she was looking at until she turned away. No, look, I'm hideous or whatever. Yeah. And I know. I thought that, but the cross thing was, I think that was supposed to just almost not possess her, but cause her these issues. Yeah. So I think that's it. I had another one I wanted to talk about. The nun. I mentioned that the puking was bad, but she also comes into that house just way too happy. Hello, children. Hi. Just like, wow. Very, very intense. Yeah. And then where did the boys go?
No idea.
So after the reception, when they get back from the wedding reception, and after the kid gets his like fingers smashed in the window, which I thought was another well done scene. Yeah. I thought that window coming down, and they didn't overdo it with the blood.
Yes.
And the fact that he didn't have any broken bones was kind of interesting too. Mm-hmm. But after they get back, I'm not tired, and these kids need some goddamn discipline. We don't see them. We don't see the two boys much at all anymore until the end when they run out of the house.
Right.
We only see the girl, the daughter, and her relationship with Jody. So I was just wondering.
They got their discipline and they were grounded the whole time.
They were just in their rooms the whole time. When he's walking through the house, like you see them locked in the bathroom. But you never see them again. Yeah. So maybe they just didn't have any, or they had to cut some scenes that didn't really match up. I don't know.
Right.
I thought I missed the scene where they sent them away, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, usually that's another trope where the kids get sent away to live with another family.
Right,
to get away from evil.
So that the parents can deal with the issue,
It's funny, you mentioned the nun, and there was something I was going to bring up in Test of Time that I hadn't written down and just skipped out of my head.
Sure.
But it's when his business partner brings his girlfriend or wife to the house and she's outside.
Oh, yes.
And the way she's like, just immediately like, I can't go in there. I don't want to go in there. Mm-hmm. I thought she did a great job. She didn't oversell the fear and trepidation. She just, it was a very natural conveyance of fear and resistance and not wanting to go into the Amityville house.
Well, and I liked how they set that up, because then later on, you know that she makes mention, I'm sensitive to this stuff. Like she really hits you over the head at the end, that she's
a psychic,
in tune with the spiritual realm. Right. But at that scene, we don't know that. We're just introduced to her, and the look on her face and the way she backs away. Yes. Yeah. I think it's a little different at the end. I think she gets a little hammy when she starts talking, this is the gateway to hell and stuff when they find the secret room. I still liked her scream and stuff. She did a really good job with that, but I thought maybe it was a little over the top.
Well, especially because she then switches to, I have to go in the house.
Yes.
I have to.
I need to deal with this. And then she finds the room and everything. Yeah. And I did like how she starts breaking it apart. Yeah. And he goes, what are you doing to my house? James Brolin just charges down there and was like, why are you doing this to my house? So I thought that was good. So now we're going to move on to bonus features where we do research on our film. And so I'm going to start it off. So mine, actually, I just wanted to give my first research point was I just wanted to give a little background of the true story that happened in that house. In 1974, Ronald Joseph DeFeo Jr. is 23 years old. He got up, shot his parents and 4 siblings. He initially blamed it as a mob hitman, but under interrogation, he admitted to killing and then cleaning up. He then pleaded insanity and was hoping to get off with that, saying he heard voices and things in the house that made him do it. He, however, was sentenced to 6 sentences for each victim. So 6 life sentences for each victim. And he ended up dying in prison in 2021.
I'm just going to jump in with mine because it's interesting. Like,
go ahead.
One of the websites that I brought up was like, what are the facts that we know about what happened?
Okay.
Because you brought up the history and like that segues well. So this website's like, we only know really 3 things. They moved into the house in December. They moved out on January 13th, 1976. And DeFeo murdered his family in 74. those are the only things that we know to be absolutely true.
Right.
And the website goes on to talk about how the Lutzes submitted 45 hours of recollections and like audio recollections to the author of the book that the movie's based on. These tapes have never been released. And there's doubt it was like, this is where the facts have gone, but there's doubt if they even exist at all. It becomes really interesting because DeFeo's defense lawyer, William Weber, claims that the Lutzes made the story up with him in order to profit off of this. And
I did hear that. Yeah.
George and Kathy have both taken lie detector tests over the veracity of this claim, and they passed.
Oh,
so now is the lawyer lying to try to gain notoriety, or are they just really good at lie detector tests? Right. So it becomes this interesting mythology around the film of whether it's true or not.
Yeah, there's a lot of little tidbits about that. I'll just jump in with mine because it kind of goes on the same track as that. It's the Lutzes were the only ones who claimed that they were haunted.
Yes. In
that house, and subsequent owners claim no supernatural activity has happened. So they're the only ones that have said they were, attacked in that home.
And I found research on that talks about the reason for it, which is the Lutzes claim that the demon followed them when they left that night.
Oh.
And that's what the sequel to the Amityville Horror 2 is all about, the continued harassment by the demon.
I see.
Yeah, they claim that part 2 is also the true experience that they had.
I did have a little bit on James Brolin when he acted in this film. So the movie was on a pretty tight budget. It had a budget of $4.7 million, but James Brolin took less money up front with a promise of 10% of the gross sales after its release. And after the movie became an unexpected blockbuster, he eventually received about $17 million.
That is crazy.
So if adjusted for inflation, so this is by 2021 standards, but if adjusted for inflation, it would be the equivalent of just a little over $63.5 million is what he made. Adjusting for inflation.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is a crazy amount of money for a film.
And that goes with something that I found, which was this is the most successful independent movie in history, grossing more than $86 million in $1979.
Wow.
Yeah. So it did quite well.
I watched a documentary with Margot Kidder and James Brolin. We're talking mostly, we didn't see much of the director or really anybody else. They were just talking about how it went when they were making the film. And apparently they didn't really get on very well.
Margot and James? Yeah,
James Brolin is a very serious actor, approaches his craft in a very serious way, needs to know how things are going to progress and break down. Whereas Margot Kidder likes to, as she said, let accidents happen. So she likes to just kind of show up and just let the process evolve as the scene evolves.
Right.
So they were very different styles. And I know Margot Kidder said she thinks James Brolin didn't like her very much. And James Brolin said, "Can I be honest, or should I give you the answer I'm supposed to give?" And then he kind of chuckled about it and just said, we're very different people.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think they really got along, which I think works in the scene because really they're only in love
for the first 30 minutes at the most.
Yes. After post-coitus, they're fighting the whole time. And so maybe that added to the tension there. But anyways, they didn't really seem to like each other very much. Margot Kidder, the way she talks about the film, so she took it after Superman.
Yeah.
And I guess there's a scene where she's actually humming the Superman theme song.
Yeah, I didn't catch it, but apparently that's in there.
I did read about that, but she said she took it because after Superman, they wanted her, they were seeking her out. So she took it as a payday. She was, this is one of the movies that I can actually get, a pretty good payday on. But then the way she describes film and horror movies is very similar to the way I think of horror films. It's a ride. You want to have fun. You want to be scared. And she seemed like a very interesting lady.
Yeah. Whereas Brolin's like, this is a serious film. And
yes. And he's like, I want to get this. But I guess he didn't like how he delivered the line where he says, I'm falling apart in the chair. He said he thought he did that a little too much. It was too much for the scene, so he didn't like that. He did say that he couldn't find work for the next 2 years after that film.
Yeah, which that was almost going to be my test of time, was his portrayal of George. He does such a good job, but it was interesting. Yeah, he struggled to get cast because he went for romantic leads and other things like that, and studios are like, not after Amityville.
No,
audiences
like
aren't going to come see
guy,
him. Yeah. But that speaks to the quality of his craft.
And it's so unfortunate that studios can't see through that and be, I think the audience will accept you
right
as this next person, because you almost get typecast. So what's he going to be? Just bad guys all the time? Like axe wielding maniacs? Like for the next shows he wants to do? I don't think that's really the route he wanted to go.
No, not at all.
I had another one. Did you have another one, Mike?
I just had a quote from Roger Ebert in his review. He gave it 1.5 stars.
Oh.
Yeah, he didn't like the film. But he was talking about how he was at an airport and he actually met George Lutz. Lutz.
Okay, yeah.
And so he sat with him and talked to him, and Lutz told his story. And Ebert says, was he telling the truth? Did green slime really squirt from the keyholes? Did a red-eyed pig really glare through the windows? Did a ghostly marching band really parade through the living room? Maybe so. We've all made bad real estate investments. But the question isn't so much whether these terrible things really happened as whether, please forgive me for my lack of reverence, they've been made into an entertaining movie. They have not.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah.
I did find one thing that I thought was kind of interesting, to get the flies to stick to the priest, whose name is Rod Steger. He was rubbed with honey up and down his face, so they would come and stick to his I guess you catch more flies with honey, right? But yeah, it was kind of interesting. Could you imagine just sitting in there in that?
No, I couldn't imagine being the actor in that scene
and having flies just walk all up and down.
No, it's like the bees in the swarm. I don't know how people
let them crawl all over you and stay in character. Yeah. One more thing I did notice was the horror house, the original one, now sells for $1.5 million.
Wow.
It's
is that the original murder house or the original house from the film?
I think it's the original house from the film.
Oh, okay.
Because when I looked it up, it was the picture of the house from the film. It wasn't the actual murder house.
Yeah.
And all those stories about Ketchum and things like the occult being on the land, that's all. They don't know if that actually happened. That was written into the story. The Lutzes told that bit. And so they don't know if any of that is true. Margot and James Brolin both said they did not believe that this happened.
Right. Yeah.
And I remember Margot Kidder even saying, maybe I didn't treat it seriously enough, because she watched it and she thought that she hammed it up a little bit in a lot of the scenes. And she was like, I was just going there to have some fun. I was a young kid just trying to have some fun. She's like, maybe if I would have done my research and really bought into the whole story of it, she said, maybe I would have played it a little differently. I didn't think she played it poorly. I thought she did a great job.
Yeah, I thought she was fine. Just actually one thing that I had that I forgot about, just on the idea of whether or not this story is made up. I found this interesting. At the time of the release, there was all these stories of like creepy things that happened on set during the filming.
Yeah.
A la Exorcist and other horror movies.
Yeah.
And then it came out that the studio just made that up.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that as well. They were that was in the documentary. They said that the Medium Machine created a bunch of stuff, and then people were asking them and they weren't quite sure how to answer.
Yeah.
Are we supposed to say yes, this stuff happened? But they created a bunch of things to create this whole this ominous experience on set. Yeah. So then you really don't know what's going on. It reminds me a lot of The Conjuring, right?
Yeah. And actually, Ed and Lorraine Warren, they did work the Amityville case.
Did they?
Yeah.
I know they worked the Conjuring case, and it came out that the family had said that what they did at the house actually really did nothing. It didn't get rid of anything, and they left, and they never were haunted after they left the house. But they just said Ed and Lorraine Warren came in and tried to help them, but nothing changed. So they just packed up and took off.
Yeah.
Now we're going to go into our watchability scale. Mike, you're going to kick us off. What would you rate this out of 10?
I'm still struggling. Watching the film, I really enjoyed it. And then when we started this, I was like, I don't have a number for it. And I'm still thinking, I loved it. I thought it was really good. I would put it up in the 9.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I really thought Rotten Tomatoes got it wrong at 31%. I thought it was a fun movie. I loved the walls bleeding. I loved the special effects. They used James Brolin's brother in the superimposed scene, which they look crazy alike in that scene. I agree. I thought it was really, really well done. 9. I gave our last movie a 9, and that at Halloween, and that one was like almost perfect. I don't know if I'm gonna go for a 9. I'm gonna give this an 8. Yeah, it's up there for me, but I don't think it's quite there. So yeah, I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. And I think for me, it's mostly because there are some scenes that are just a little bit over the top, and as much as I liked it, I still think they chewed up some scenery there. So that's what's gonna bring it down for me.
And see, I was like, oh, maybe I'll drop down to an 8 as well, but I'm keeping it at 9 because there are things that are over the top. There are things that have been done, but I think it's just that's in a modern lens looking back. So I'm keeping it at a 9 for a 1979 film.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good for you. Before we leave, I did just want to say, what did you think of the priest assistant, like the assistant priest guy? Was he needed in the film?
Yeah, I guess that would drop my score down actually, because that does take away, and he does add nothing to the narrative other than informing us on what happened to the priest after. Like, he lost his eyesight, and right, he answers the phone in a creepy way.
Yeah. He's the driver, but I think the priest could have been driving. I got to get back to that house. The car still could have went out of control.
Right.
He could have reported that. There's no reason why that assistant guy needs to be in this film.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to drop it to an 8 on that because I completely forgot about him in my memory of the film, my discussion of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those scenes drop it a bit.
Totally forgettable character. And I don't know why he's there.
Yeah.
So that's why before we left, I just wanted to, because he wasn't in any of our categories. And I was like, when am I going to talk about this guy? Mm-hmm. So I'll do it at the end. But anyways, so you're focusing on an 8 now, and I'm at an 8 as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for listening to us. Be sure to check us out on Instagram. We are at Scream Stream Pod. Stop by our website, screamsandstreams.com, where we have information about our episodes, descriptions of our categories, links to our research, and our watchability scale, where we rank all of the films we are looking at. Please rate, comment on, and subscribe to our show on any of the platforms where you get your podcasts. Until next time, this has been Chad and
Mike.
Scare you later.